Hey VC, Brad Vinyl Guy here, back with a new Buys and Finds video. Hope you're all doing okay. Massive thanks to all the new subscribers I've had since I made the last video. The numbers seem to have leaped astonishingly. Cheers for pressing the subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for all subscribers for watching too, and anybody else who happens to be tuning in. So all the records that I'm showing today were all bought from Vinyl Tap in Elsker in South Yorkshire. A great record shop they've got down there. Lots of the normal stuff as well as some rarities, and yeah, they cover the whole field, albums, singles, the lot. So I'm starting off today with this album that Dan from Dots and Loops Vinyl Records showed recently, and this is Gone, Camembert Electrique, an album originally made in France in 1971. First time it was pressed in the UK was 1974, and this is that version here, released by Virgin. And Gone, well, what can I say about this one? It's avant-garde, it's space rock, it's psychedelic, all over the place. It's pretty amusing to listen to. I mean, Gone were formed in 1967 by David Allen, an Australian chap who was in Soft Machine, and they were kind of like a revolving door of people who'd been in lots of other bands and went on to be in other bands. And when they were on stage, all sorts of people appeared with them. Steve Hillage, Mike Howlett, who was a producer of some note in the early 80s, seemed to produce everything that I was buying when I first started buying records. He worked with OMD, Julian Cope, the Skids, Martha and the Muffins, you name it. And also Gilly Smith was on here. She worked with Gone and Soft Machine as well, and she was David Allen's partner. So yeah, it's pretty wild and wacky and out there, and like I said, it comes on the Virgin label, and the two Virgins black and white version here. Sleeve not in great condition there that I showed you, but ridiculously cheap, and the record plays great. Okay, so next up we have Harry Nilsson, a record that you probably are more familiar with, a little touch of Schmilson in the night. This is an album that came out on RCA Victor, Orange label, in 1973. And Nilsson, obviously known originally as a great songwriter. He wrote for the Monkees, Three Dog Night and many more. Amazing vocalist, 3.5 octave range. And on this particular album he sings the standards. And singing American standards probably a good 10 years before other people were doing that kind of thing. So a little bit ahead of his time from that point of view, and full orchestration on this one. Really nice gatefold with all the pictures of the people who were in the band and individual credits for each person, so good of him to do that. But a lot of classics, For Me and My Girl, Making Whoopee, Lullaby in Ragtime, What'll I Do as Time Goes By, you know, super well known songs, played with an orchestrated background. And Nilsson started off as a computer programmer, originally born in New York, Brooklyn I think, and moved over to Los Angeles. And yeah, a great album, showing off his great voice. Known for his work with John Lennon, became a very close friend of John Lennon, and worked very hard to help control gun law in the United States after the tragic loss of John Lennon. And the songs on here are arranged by Gordon Jenkins, who was an arranger for Frank Sinatra. So yeah, that's Nilsson, a little touch of Schmilson in the night. Okay, so a group who I know are much loved in the VC, Grateful Dead, and their live album, self-titled, not to be confused with their original, their first album, self-titled, often known as the Skull and Roses album for obvious reasons. Some great artwork on here. Just show you the gatefold in it. Lots of gatefolds today, it seems. I'm sure that you're all familiar with, and I think Lisa L.E. is a big fan of Grateful Dead from what I can work out. Yeah, they wanted to call it another name that I won't say on here, it might offend some people, but the record company won't allow it. It featured the four-letter word, we have to say. So, mainly recorded in San Francisco and New York City, with some overdubs on the guitars and vocals. Mainly cover versions, but 3 original songs on here as well. So there's a Merle Haggard song, Mama Tried, Also a John Phillips song, Me and My Uncle, John Phillips from the Mamas and the Papas. And Johnny B. Good, Chuck Berry song as well, also on here. So a good variety of stuff and beautifully played as you'd expect. Grateful Dead, self-titled, aka Skull and Roses. Okay, so some Sunshine Pop, but staying in California as I often do. A band from Los Angeles called the Sunshine Company. This album came out in 1968 on Liberty Records. Pretty rare mono pressing though. It's not an expensive album, generally £8 to £10 in the UK. But you usually tend to see the stereo version, and I couldn't even find a mono version on Discogs at all when I looked it up. So you can tell by looking at the sleeve without even hearing it, can't you? It's Sunshine, pop, beautiful harmonies as you would expect. You know, think Up, Up and Away by the Fifth Dimension, which is very similar to the style on here, and a song that they were going to actually to cover themselves before Fifth Dimension put it out. I think they had one big hit in the United States. Back on the Street Again was their big hit that they had. This was their third album. They put an album out in '67 and two in '68, of which was the second album. Yeah, very sunshiny. But there's a song on here, an instrumental Sunshine theme, which is a bit of a blues rock workout, which is really, really good. It doesn't really fit in with the rest of the stuff on here, but yeah, a good album. They were discovered by Bill McKinnon, who was the manager of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. So that's the Sunshine Company, Sunshine and Shadows. There's some dark lyrics on there as well, as it gives away by the title of the album, but mainly sunshiny and up-tempo. Okay, next, a very well-known record in the vinyl community that I've seen quite a few times in the recent past is Quicksilver Messenger Service, Happy Trails. And I love the sleeve on this one. Anything that has a cowboy on the front in a kind of heroic pose is always going to do it for me, artwork-wise. And I know a lot of you know this album. This is originally came out in 1969. This is a 1981 UK repress, as you can tell from this up here. Green light, price right. And essentially it's a very, very extended version of Who Do You Love, the Bo Diddley song, split into 5 parts with relating to the parts that are played by various members of the Quicksilver and the Messenger Service group. So they all get their own credits on here. But that's essentially what it is. And then start of side 2 is Mona, which is another Bo Diddley song, and it ends with Happy Trails, which is like the Roy Rogers theme tune. And Rolling Stone absolutely loved this album to death, and they said I think they had it in their top 200 of the favourite 500 albums of all time when they did one of their polls in the early noughties. But yeah, really great playing on here. Live album again, Quicksilver Messenger Service, Happy Trails. Okay, so moving over to Australia for this next album. Nice to pick this one up, quite a rare one, Procession by Procession, from 1969 yet again. A group that originally formed in Melbourne in Australia, and probably could be quite deceived by the look of the picture on the front of the quite angry looking set of people on here, but it's kind of a poppy, Beatlesque, Monkeys maybe a little bit, pop rock album, a little bit of garage, maybe possibly on the first song on side 2, One Day and Every Week, but mainly very poppy. The first song on side 1 is Simon Says, which is kind of not the 1910 Fruit Gum Company song, but the writing credit given on it is to the same guy, so I assume they've given him a credit because it's similar, but it's sort of based on that song rather than the song itself. But that's not really a fair reflection of what's on the rest of the album, because that's obviously a very commercial song, and it is poppy, but not as poppy as that, if you see what I'm saying. Originally the band were formed in 1967, like I said, in Melbourne, Australia. They worked there for quite a while, had a bit of a residency on a TV show, didn't really make it big, so they decided to relocate to the UK. Now in the group is a member of who went on to be a Manfred Mann. That's Mick Rogers, sings mainly most of the vocals on here, and also plays bass and lead guitar as well. And it's produced by Mike Hugg, who was also in Manfred Mann as well. And when they relocated to the UK, they had a bit of a residency here at the Marquee Club in London for the early part of 1969. Well received by the critics, as you can see on Mercury Records, but didn't really hit it big here, so they disbanded shortly after. This was the only album that they made. and then later released it in the USA with a slightly different track listing as well. Procession by Procession. Now next is an album by someone who I've never bought anything by before, shockingly, and it's Frank Sinatra. This album from 1970, nice embossed and beautiful artwork on this one. This is a real stunner. Watertown, as in Watertown, New York, I assume. Concept album made by Francis Albert in 1970, produced by Bob Gorgio from the Four Seasons, and also Jay Combs, who originally wrote Dazed and Confused. He was a songwriter, born in the late 1930s. Obviously that went on to be covered and made completely different by Led Zeppelin. Another gatefold on this one with the lyrics. Yeah, and it's a concept album. It's about a chap who is left by his wife with his two children, who is lured by the big city lights of New York. It's all about what he goes through and how it all happens over two sides of music. But it's typical what you expect from Frank Sinatra, beautifully orchestrated. This was the only album that he made where he wasn't in the studio live with the orchestra when he sang it. He did it on a backing track. He was there when they actually made it, but he sang to a backing track, and it's the only one that he's made of any of his albums at all like that. It was a commercial flop in the United States. It was the only album that didn't make the top 100 there. But I really, really like it. It was kind of had mixed reviews when it came out. But listen to it now, you know, it's very heartfelt, very melancholic, extremely sad, but beautifully delivered as always by Frank Sinatra. And just show you the label on this one, the 3-coloured reprise label, which I really like, and a great custom label with a picture of Frank Sinatra on it. But yeah, really good album, that one. If you like his stuff and you don't know it, which you probably do to be fair, I would check it out. Okay, quite an unusual one coming up next. This is a band called Teaset. They're from the Netherlands, as you can see from this one. This great picture, great haircuts there. 1969 again. Teaset Forever, this was their 3rd album. They're only pressed in the Netherlands. And they were a Dutch pop rock group. And they're the first Dutch group to have their own record label, Teaset, named after the band, obviously. And it's, like I said, it's pop rock. There's a cover version of Red Red Wine on here, which was sung by Peter Totero. I think he released that as a solo single first, and then they subsequently put it on the album. I assume it's the same version. The Neil Diamond song, obviously. They had a massive hit in the United States and in the Netherlands that's not on this album, called Ma Belle Amie, which got to number 5 in the USA and sold over 1 million copies. And their next single, She Likes Weeds, was a number 1 in the Netherlands, but was banned in the United States for drug references. But yeah, really rare, hard to find in the UK, ridiculously cheap, I assume because the sleeve is a little bit rippled. But the record plays great, bargain buy for £5, had to buy it. And yeah, it's a good pop rock album, and I'm sure Uncle Harry will know about them. Very much of his era and of his time. Usual label there, the Teaset label, their own label, like I said. So a nice one to have from that point of view. Okay, so just some singles to end with, some 12 and 10-inch singles. Picked this one up, one that I'd never seen before, Lou Reed, What's Good, from his Magic and Loss album from 1992. Also featured on here is The Room, which was an instrumental that was only available previously on the Dirty Boulevard 12-inch, which came out in 1991 from his New York album. On the B-side of here, there's Harry's Circumcision, which is another song from the Magic and Loss album, one of my favourite albums by Lou Reed. And A Dream, which is a lyric reading from the Songs from Drella album that he made with John Cale. And Harry's Circumcision, if you don't know it, is one that you need to hear. Amazing lyrics on that one. If you don't hear the song, just look up the lyrics. Amazing. And a great picture of Lou Reed there, circa 1990s. And also in that one was a couple of clippings that someone had put in there, the previous owner, I assume. Just a feature there about Lou Reed. Always nice to find these things in a record, isn't it, when you buy a second-hand record. And also, this came from the Huddersfield Examiner from 2007. A feature there about Lou Reed, 65 years, young, and still working. They're still walking on the wild side. Okay, Blur, a sealed copy of their 1999 Tender single, 10-inch, promotional copy only here, this one, still wrapped up in its silver foil. Tender was a gospel pop song that came out in 1999, that was a precursor to their Blur album, self-titled album. This one was produced by William Orbit, who was more famous for his producing dance records. And this also features the London Community Gospel Choir, and reached number 2 in the United Kingdom, kept off the number 1 slot by Britney Spears' Baby One More Time, no less. Yeah, very much a departure from Blur, because it's a gospel song as opposed to their Britpoppy 60s style stroke avant-garde that they later became. But one that I really like, and nice to get a copy of that one. Some of their Think Tank singles from 2002 are going for crazy money. Next up, the Lemonheads from 1993, Into Your Arms, 10-inch single by them. From the album Come On Feel the Lemonheads, alt-rock group from Massachusetts, Boston stroke Cambridge. On here we've got Into Your Arms, Mitosis Regrets on the first side, and on side 2, Little Black Egg and Learning the Game. And the number 1 in the Billboard Modern Rock Tracks, so quite commercially successful for them in the United States. Evan Dando et al., Lemonheads, Into Your Arms. And finally, a British group, All About Eve, Strange Way, from the Midlands stroke Yorkshire. And this ended sort of a long run of singles in 1991 that had made the top 40 in the UK, and this one didn't make it, unfortunately. Limited edition 10-inch, number 4216 of 10,000, so not that limited really. Led by Julianne Regan, who was a member of Gene Loves Jezebel originally, and also well known for being the backing vocalist on the Mission's God's Own Medicine album. Produced by Warren Livesey, who also contributed bass and keyboards to albums like The Verse Infected, and produced St. Julian by Julian Cope. And the other songs on here are Share It With Me and Drawn to Earth. So ending with All About Eve there. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment for me and I'm bound to reply to you. I'll see you on the next video. Take care everyone. Bye.